Hey.
You're live.
Hey, thanks. Hey, well, it's good to be here. Yes, this is my Tim with Robin and Jennifer of Angry Comics. We're slightly angry. We have masks that I haven't worn in, I couldn't tell you, a year or so, but this is something my daughter made, and thought it was just happened to be in my car here. So, but yeah, with this judge in Florida, a federal judge, decided to drop the mask mandate, the federal mask mandates, especially for public transportation. I guess that means for public trains, public planes, public whatever, buses, who knows, wagons, and who knows. But the fact that you guys can just jump in here wherever you want, but here we're at Angry Comics and just seeing all the videos, and I think it was funny that there were several announcements on the plane where people were cheering and hey, take our mask off. And it seemed like a lot of people probably were, but I get a feeling there's still a lot of people, based on who I see out in public, that don't have to wear masks. There are a lot of people sitting around very uncomfortable that had their masks on. I think you guys may agree with that. I'm not sure.
And hey, if the mask work and the jab works, what should they be worried about if people don't jab or mask? So hey, to each his own.
I think you're probably right. Yes.
But But I saw. Did you guys see the airline, the flight attendant guy who was like, he was like singing it? Yeah, he was cool. He was like,
a lot of them probably feel that way.
Oh, hold on. I got it.
What you got?
Hold on.
Okay. Yeah,
I love it.
Throw away your
mask. I mean, come on, that's great.
Nobody ever really asked how they felt about it. Here they had to wear theirs like 14 hours a day. They had to sit there and tell everybody else to do it. Imagine that's your job.
They weren't allowed to share their opinion on it. They couldn't do it. It's like the doctors. Robin, I think you shared some link earlier today about that. The doctors legally cannot express their opinion, what they think about whatever the vaccine, drug, whatever it is. They legally cannot even say anything.
Right.
You're worried about losing their jobs about the stupid masks. And what's funny is you probably read this too. There's still some airports in certain cities. They're like, okay, inside the airport, you still have to have your mask on. Now, I know Chicago was one of them. They're like, Delta, all the main airlines said no, it's optional, blah, blah, blah. But some airports said you still had to wear them. Airport, they're going to defy it no matter what.
Well, I was in Atlanta airport yesterday picking up my daughter, and there was still a good amount of people still had their mask on, but a lot of people you could tell. So that's interesting. I don't think that's here in Atlanta, but I don't know what airport's going to try it. Good luck with that, I say.
Well, and so let's talk about something on Twitter. There's a guy named who he talks a lot about freedoms. And yesterday he was just, and I love the guy. He's does a great podcast called The Quash. And he mentioned, hey, y'all could have taken the mask off at any time. You had this freedom the whole time. And I guess my response to the guy was like, you know what? Let's celebrate that people took their masks off, and let's celebrate the joy, because you need to encourage people that when they take it off, they feel the freedom, and that we want people to remember that feeling of freedom so that this never happens again.
I agree. And don't forget the videos we saw where people get dragged off a plane, drug off a plane, and then a dude tried to put a 2-year-old put a mask on a 2-year-old. That is something we cannot forget.
It sounds like someone's being eaten alive by an alien right now.
I'm not eating anything. I'm here. But that's what we can't forget. I mean, there are people who are drug off planes many times over, and it was on the news.
Yeah.
Yeah, it does sound like someone's eating some
shit. My gosh, sounds like someone's eating a bag of Frito-Lays right now. Just listen. Everybody stop talking. We have the audio from somebody at StreamYard corporate, and they're like, I don't like the conversation they're having. Get on there and eat your Frito-Lays with your soda.
It's still there. It's so
Robin muted. Don't hear it. Tim, you start talking. Let's see if we hear anything.
Yep. Hey, nope.
I guess Robin, the alien is among you, and so come back on and let's see if we hear the alien eating Frito-Lays and drinking a Diet Coke. While wearing a mask.
No, I hear it. It's totally.
It's you. Oh, she's disappeared. She's
Right.
she's been
She can try.
taken.
Oh, that's funny.
She's been taken
Yeah,
aboard the
I
mothership.
remember early on, this first year or whatever. Remember how the different videos was like, it was always on the main news, the mainstream media was somebody dragging somebody off a plane. It was just insanity. And now it finally comes to this.
Finally.
So it took 2 years. It took 2 years, 2+ years for them to say, no, it's illegal. Oh, it took that long to do this. So no matter what they do, it takes us that long to figure out that it's illegal. And of course, we knew it was wrong. Everybody knew it was wrong.
Yeah.
Insanity.
Yeah.
Oh my gosh.
Well, I agree with what Robin said earlier. Robin said, hey, let's just be grateful that people, here comes the alien. Oh, she's gone again. She's been taken. Man, they're really going to town on her today. But
Oh my gosh.
But I agree. Like I hear a lot of kickback, like, oh, we why are you excited? They made us go through all this. Part of me is like, you know what? There's a victory declared today. Let's have the victory and enjoy the victory. And I get it, right? We always had the freedom, but those that chose to operate in that freedom were thrown off airplanes and barred from flying and this and that. So but it did take the brave warriors to resist it and to go out there. And I'll be honest, early on, I was like, put the darn mask on. What's the big deal? Like, just wear your mask, go to where you're going. Stop making a big deal about it. I was kind of feeling like that a little bit at the beginning.
Yeah. And I think really what it turned out to be, looking back on it, it was really, it was a means to a much bigger end.
Yeah.
Let's get them the mask thing. I mean, I'm sure that it had been seen in other countries that already said, hey, you put the mask on, you scare people enough, and then you go to the next what's the next bullet point? And that's what happened. It went from the mask to the vaccine to, whatever it may be. Can't get in a large crowd. You don't be around each other. Hate your neighbor, hate your family member, that don't let them come over for Christmas, blah, blah, blah. And that was kind of I think that's what they do.
Christmas.
This kind of psychosis has been going on for millennia. So it wasn't like it was a new thing they were figuring out. There's like, hey, we'll just do it. We'll just use the media since we control it completely. We'll just run the gambit. And that's what they did. And now the next question is, will patriots and other people stand up, people who are in the middle, like on that fence that's starting to understand it now? Are they going to wake up? Are they going to go, okay, I'm not doing this again?
Yeah.
So that's what they got to do. They got to say, no, we're not doing it again, guys. This is stupid.
I pray not. And I watched a video today of Fauci talking about how the lockdowns are important until you can get the vaccination. But I just, even in his words, I'm like, I don't know if that video is new or that was an older video. The way it was shared, it sounded like it was that it was a new video. Okay, Robin is back with us. And I do not hear an alien eating chips and drinking Diet Coke with a mask on. So
thank you.
Are you in a different location? Supposed to be in a different location. Maybe that's
new location. Are you aboard the mothership, Robin?
I'm aboard the mothership.
I'm
happy and I owe nothing.
Well, at least they cleared up the static for it. That's good.
Yeah,
that was good. We appreciate them for doing that. So.
Sure.
Oh my
awesome.
God.
Well, we were just kind of continuing the conversation about the mask, and so that's good news. It's good news, and I agree, Robin. We were just talking about let's celebrate the victory and not get caught in this and that. It is a victory, and hopefully Canada will follow, and other countries will follow suit.
Right. And did you guys touch upon microplastics?
No.
Oh, okay. So they just discovered that microplastic pollution is a thing. It was the first time they've ever found it in the lungs of people, and they're finding it now in the people who are alive. They took samples from 13 people, and it was found in 11. And it's polypropylene, which is found in plastic packaging and pipes. And anyways, so, where is this stuff coming from? Food, water, masks.
Definitely could be masks.
It has to be masks because, that's one thing, when you talk about the studies they did on masks, they never took the fabric and studied it being this close from someone's, mouth. That was never in this fabric testing, or even, the cloth. That was never like a study. So,
right.
You know, that was never expected. You don't know what the result is. We're living guinea pigs. Hey, this is what happened. So, you know, I kind of feel bad. Like, how many kids were, especially in New York, it was required. You know, my kids masked up until like September, October of last year, because I was a weirdo and I was one of those people.
Well, you know, early on in your defense, a lot of people just didn't know. It was, I mean, you got to think, none of us were red pilled at the beginning of this.
No, we were not. But you know, it's funny. The cloth masks mean nothing, but actually they probably were safer.
Yeah, that's all we ever had. The kids made them, just like the one my daughter made. She's, you know, she likes the artsy stuff, and so she did that and just had fun with it. And I think they wore them to like some visits, mobile visits in front of the doctor's office to get, you know, basic checkups for the kids, and just so they had to have something on, even though they did no good, but they weren't sucking up plastics. At least they were
right.
Just,
instead it was just the moisture of their own air, you know, which is a whole other thing.
So we all went through it a little bit. Everybody was frightened a little bit. Hey, the first couple of months, I was the only one that went to like the grocery store and stuff. It wasn't even like overly crazy. It was just my wife's aerobics thing got shut down. The kids homeschool. I mean, there were stuff that they got out for some school and got shut down. So really, it was just me working, and my job didn't really change much. So I was just the one going to the grocery store. They'd go out with me every once in a while. Because we weren't in fear, it was just like, you just really know what was going on. Let's just keep it simple. And but then, like you said, we started figuring out what was going on. It's just here we are.
But what's sad is that, you know, as time goes on, we realize our government knew the whole time how it was transmitting, and they didn't tell us. They just let us continue in this fear factory.
Yeah,
exactly. Exactly. Well, you said something, Jennifer. I think, Robin, you were gone. That you said you saw a video of Fauci talking about that. They may have to do lockdowns again or something.
Yeah, and how the lockdowns are helpful with stopping the spread until you can get the vaccine, and either that they're pushing.
It's been proven. It's the worst thing they could have done. There was a you guys will know this. What was the article that came out in a huge? Was it last month or 2 months ago about saying how bad the lockdowns were and how much of a terrible out? It was like was it Johns Hopkins or something? And it got pretty much buried by the mainstream media. It said it was it was awful to do the lockdowns. It was terrible.
Yes.
And yet he's coming on there and people still say.
But that was part of the point. That was part of the point of what we're now seeing. It was always part of the bigger plan that is now becoming more apparent to all of us, that it was really not about the virus. It was about the control and the whole new world order being ushered in, and the control, you know, and everything that we're seeing, how they were monitoring. Remember when we were like, wait, they're watching us through the phones? Remember when we were realizing we were being targeted, and they could tell when you went to the store? So they were,
or when we were doing the Angry Comics podcast and then an alien walked in with some bag of chips.
Yay. But, you know, it was all part of them just kind of pushing this agenda, which kind of brings me, you know, I know last week we talked about the venom in the water, and I've been diving deep, and
good.
I still don't know necessarily if it's proven that it is in the water. So that's still up for debate. Them saying that venom is indeed COVID-19. I think somehow the venom has been attached to a coronavirus. I still think it has to be spread virally, like, you know, being in the same having contact. I don't believe it's coming from the water, but I'm not saying it's not. I just think there's a lot of holes in it, and only time's going to tell how those holes will get filled or not. But I've been deep diving into Dr. Bing Liu. He was the guy that early on of May of 2020 was murdered in his apartment, shot 10 times, head, chest, and arms. And then the guy who murdered him went out in his vehicle and killed himself. And I don't know how he shot himself in the back of the head. No, I'm just kidding. I don't know where his shots were, but they tried to say it was, you know, a murder-suicide. But we know.
Do you know Clinton?
Yeah, did they know Clinton? Exactly. But, you know, what's so interesting is he was coming out with this. He had made some advancements. He had made some great discoveries in COVID-19, and then that happens. So they had promised that his research would not, you know, just go with him, that they were going to release that. We're 2 years later, and nothing has come up. But here's what I found interesting. The man that murdered him, his name is Gu, and I could be spelling this wrong, Haogu. This man, he is a chief software architect for Microsoft. His job was to he would research data so he could basically kind of find out where infections would pop up. So he was kind of like looking at the numbers.
Okay.
So interesting that he's the one who, and that whole story. Oh, and with that whole story, the guy was shot. Dr. Binglin Liu's door was wide. His patio door was open. Nobody in that apartment complex heard a gunshot 10 times. And then the guy in the car kills himself. So there's so many holes to this. And I know there's a gentleman that I was watching, I forget his name, but he's trying to get some more answers. But that's one of the many. Do you guys also remember this? Early on, when COVID was kind of happening, we kept hearing about these doctors in Russia and Germany killing themselves. Do you guys remember the suicides happening? And I was like, why? And they're like, the doctors are overwhelmed. They're overwhelmed, so they're killing themselves. No, doctors have a specific gifting. They're created for the for the chaos and what most of them are. This is what they do. They're doctors. So I would love to not just Dr. Bing Liu's death, but I would love to do a deep dive into all the doctors that were quote unquote committing suicide early on. What did they know? What did they know that they were like, oh, so I don't know. I think we've all been in this storm that there was a lot of unanswered stuff happening because we were just caught up to like, oh my gosh, what about me? What about my family? And so you put all that stuff away, but now it's like, let's talk about it. I mean, anyway, so deep diving in that. I don't know if you guys have been paying it or watching or have anything to share. I'm just finding it quite interesting. And the venom in the water kind of.
I think that's probably what I think they knew. Of course, it was all planned, like you said, but I just think they didn't. I think they knew how Americans, at least for us, most people are so busy that we were going to just worry about ourselves and our family first, because that's our natural thing. And then now that we've come out of this and the data's out and it was way less severe than as far as less dangerous than they said it was. I think. It's just weird to me, and I know it's because they didn't have a lot of liability as far as they don't have much liability at all as far as vaccine injuries and things like that. But I know, Robin, you sent me that thing last week. You must have sent it to me right after we did the podcast last week. It was the survey or the signing up for the study at the Cincinnati Children's Hospital.
Okay.
And there's parts in there, and
they're like paying them off to be a part of the study.
Like $600 something to do this study. And there's some parts in there that's, kind of, nothing groundbreaking until you get to a couple of things. And there's certain things that they mentioned, like, well, there's no way of really knowing that you're going to get COVID more severe if you take the booster. And then the one thing that really blew me away, because for months, and I remember talking to a girl I work with who wasn't sure she'd ever have another baby or not. So she was a little nervous about taking the vaccine. And I mentioned on my little podcast, was talking about how my 2-year-old was on YouTube, and was watching kids videos. And underneath it, all these little local videos were going to pop up from local pediatricians in your region or your area that said, hey, you're worried about the vaccine. If you're pregnant, don't worry about it. That you guys saw them. They said, don't worry about the vaccine. There's no proof that it's going to hurt the fetus. It's going to hurt your baby. It's going to hurt you, your breast milk, anything. But then in that study you sent me, there's the first line when it talks about pregnancy in the booster shots. It says it based on pregnancy, fetus, sperm from the guy, whatever. The effects of the COVID booster or COVID-19 vaccine are not known on any of these things. So they completely lied, and they just get away with it. It's like, it's like,
I don't understand that. I don't know if maybe they skirt it because the vaccine company isn't directly saying it. So instead they pay off a third party. It's like, hey, I didn't give you the $500 to off Jimmy. It was Danny who gave you the money. So like maybe it's one of those things where someone else is holding the bag, and that's how it's illegal.
And of course they don't put this Cincinnati children, that study, that's not going to make the mainstream news either.
No, there's a lot of things that make the mainstream news.
There's a video. It's a local, and they're all sponsored by the CDC and in the Department of Health and Human Services. Like on the regular TV, I don't watch regular TV because we don't really have that in the house. But in our break room at work, there's all kinds of commercials that come on there. There was one, this lady was, I can't wait till I have my baby, and we're going to have the vaccine for my baby. It's going to be great. And they're like, you need to, and they're crying. And it's just this whole actor's job. It's just an actress. And it's, at the end, it's sponsored by the CDC and Department of Health and Human Services. They're just making it, it's emotional. They just keep, and that's all you see. They don't see stuff. A lot of people never see what we're talking about because they don't have time. They just watch whatever they tell them, and they just keep on doing. All the truth is out there now, and they just keep pushing it. It's crazy. Crazy.
Well, it's going to be part of your, regiment for your children, part of the vaccine regimen. They're just slipping it in, how vital and important it is. And just like they said, oh, this is how we've killed off the measles and everything. It's like, no, it's not. It's just another vaccine.
Right. Or they'll bring up the polio. And if you actually go through the research, polio, the vaccine was coming when it was dying down.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And now actually take the polio vaccines create polio.
Right. That's how we're still spreading a lot of this is through the vaccine.
It's called leaky vaccines. It's like it and that's what they're saying is happening now. Gert van de Bosch, he's the Dutch, I believe he's Dutch virologist. He's come out and said, it's bad. And many people, virologists, were like, you can't do this. You can't put this. It's going to create stronger variants is what's going to happen when you introduce vaccines to a huge population. Had we just vaccinated the old people in a very small set, maybe we could have done okay because they really were the only ones that were going to be affected by this.
Yeah, absolutely. That's the only ones. That's all it was. It was ever about that though. We know that now looking back on it.
Yeah, we know that
never
now.
about that. They didn't care. They don't care how many people died. They just wanted to create fear early on because then that would kind of set the ball rolling.
Right. Yeah. And they promoted it, showing the pictures of the Chinese people just dropping in the streets, which then brings you to the other thing. Like, are these people in Shanghai really having these things happen to them? I don't know. That's another question.
Yeah. Which are they trying to set us up for another lockdown?
Is that what they're doing? I don't know. He said.
Yeah. If they try to truly do it, maybe in the fall or something happens, there needs to be a stand. We need to be standing across this country like we've never seen in our lifetimes, like we've never seen. I mean, it needs to be absolute defiance to another level.
It does. And COVID is down. COVID is like way down. Like, don't buy any kind of hype. There's a variant coming. Like every time someone goes, Robin, did you hear? And I'm all like, I'm not really buying that anymore. Try to stop selling that one.
I don't. So many things go through my head. I've got 100 things that I think. You guys send articles to me, and I'm at work. I don't respond all the time, but I'm like, holy crap! I mean, literally, in my head today, I say "holy crap" 25 times. I'm like,
that's all you say. I say a lot more than that.
I know it. I'm just thinking, wow, I'll get 5 in a row. I'm like, crap, I don't have time to look at them right now.
Yeah.
Then try to remember to go back and read them, and I'm like, oh my gosh, how is this happening?
Yeah.
So it's just so much information.
Then you see something funny, like a cake with someone who wrote an icing, find the toenail. I mean, that then I just spit it out.
Yes, I want to have the funny in there too. Believe me, I want to have the funny in there. I love the funny, but it's so hard to find the funny unless you're just mocking these people. But it's such a dark thing that it's hard to get too deep into it.
It is dark. It is dark. Another thing we were going to talk about was about the food. Like, okay, so. Remember, I kind of made a joke the other day, like before COVID, like there was a bunch of natural doctors that died of mysterious circumstances.
Right.
There's like a 4-year period where a bunch of them were like killed or they died. It was just very odd. And no one knew why. Now we know why. They would have been sounding the alarm and treating the people. That's number one. They kicked Mercola off real quick in the beginning. But number two, the next thing you're starting to see is food shortages and seeing where fertilizer plants and food plants are suffering, are getting hit.
Yep, exactly.
Just yesterday or 2 days ago, the Azure food company was their factory suffered a fire. Now, for people who don't know, Azure is like the leading people who do. Like a lot of people who buy like organic foods, they buy it in bulk.
Yeah.
And so you'll do an order with a bunch of people and you'll go pick it up. Like the pallets will be delivered from because they're out west. They'll be delivered and then, you can go get your food. And it's really helpful for people who have like allergies or need to eat organic, very specific foods. So them suffering a fire was a huge setback. And apparently, let's see what else has happened. There was a food services building in Oregon that was set on fire. There was another one. 6 were injured at a processing plant in Hermiston. One in Walmart distribution center. There was, food pantry. Maricopa food pantry, 40,000 pounds. A California food plant. And, Azure was like the largest independent food distributor in the United States. So there's a lot of hippies that are going to go hungry.
Well, what would you've said this in the past before too, probably last week. I mean, we got
What was that?
Americans have always been pretty good about growing their own food. Our parents and grandparents all had gardens for the most part, and that's what we got to do. We got to get back to it.
We have to.
You're living in an environment, it's not that hard to grow food.
But we're going to have to learn how to you can't be able to use fertilizers from the Walmart in a couple of months.
Well, that's true. You can't, but you can still grow it without it.
I'm going to start harvesting my children's poop is what I plan to do.
Well, there you go. Seriously, if you got chickens, there you go.
What's for breakfast, Dookie?
Yeah.
What's for dinner? More Dookie.
Kids go out in the yard. I'm tired of scraping the bowl.
Yeah. Well, and then
my squash is looking a little light this year, a little light.
Go Dookie on that squash plant. Go Dookie. Just go outside and Dookie in the garden. So even our current president, God bless him. Real quick, did you see the bunnies?
I was just thinking.
What kind of crazy Hunger Games society, messed up mass singer world are we living in with those bunny rabbits? Like, that is crazy. What is happening? And they are his handlers. Did you see the clip where he started talking and the bunny rabbit literally comes and gets him? It's his handler.
This way, buddy.
Okay, so guys,
it's kind of creepy. I feel like on a constant basis, like they're telling us that like these things cause heart attacks. Like, there's like, if you live near an airport, you might be at higher risk of having a heart attack. If you blow a whistle too hard, you might have a heart attack. It's like they're trying so hard to like have other reasons why people might suddenly be suffering from heart attacks.
Well, because when you everything in the media, everybody sees the same thing, and they've dumbed down. Dumbed down our population so bad because our education system is so bad in so many places that it's easy pickings. They're like, there's not going to be enough that are going to question this. And they show videos of like him with the Easter Bunny and other things. It's like, it looks like complete foolishness. It's like they don't even they're so deep into this. They show videos thinking, oh, it's great. Let's show him. And we all go, are you kidding me? It looks like our great grandpa when, you remember like my great granddad, when I was like 7, he died when he was pushing 90. And I remember him being so frail and feeble. Skin was real thin. I loved him to death, but he could barely speak. He didn't know, really had to kind of lead him around and guide him around just like a child. And that is what we have. One thing about our presidents, you got to show some kind of leadership or some sort of authority. And he's never really shown that. He's always been a guy that's always been, they've always kind of looked at him as someone's like, oh, there's Joe. He's still a senator in Delaware, but we know he doesn't tell the truth. And that's what it's always been. He's always just been a liar, and they just mocked him. The news used to mock him horribly back in the 80s and 90s at how bad of a liar this man was. He was dishonest, and here he is. Now he's feeble. He's still dishonest, but they're telling him what to say. And it's just like, it's a joke. It's just a joke. There it is. There's the picture.
There's the picture.
This is so freaking weird.
Why does the chest look like that? Why did the chest, like, who invented that?
Like, I feel like I would love to deep dive into a whole nother, what the heck's going on with the bunny rabbits, follow the white rabbit, talk about Matrix, but let's talk about the color purple. I was listen, there's a new guy I found. He's talking about the Phoenicians, right? The Phoenicians, like, I don't know, like this.
Oh, yeah. The traders. Yeah.
Right. Like before the Roman Empire, and they did adult sacrifice, child sacrifice, but it was always the color purple that represented them. And they were showing on Inauguration Day, all the women were wearing purple, and it's purple. And I was kind of like, this guy making some stinking sense. Like, I'm trying to find this guy. He's got some interesting stuff. He was dropping some truth bombs about George Floyd and 1984 and the guy who wrote it. Like, I think I sent you guys some of that, So anyway, but
Yeah.
I just realized I just watched this thing you talked about the color purple, and I just like why are those bunnies wearing purple? Straight up, like
I
I'm
don't.
tripping.
Yeah, it's so much weird. It's so bizarre.
Weird.
It's hard to know even what is even going on.
like-
But our own president goes, they won't let me say that, or I have to do what she tells me. Where should I go? Like
The
it's
bunny tells me.
constant.
Well-
He constantly is saying, "Oh, I'm not allowed to speak."
He says it out loud what he's supposed to be thinking. He says it out.
It's like he's a prisoner, and is like, is he signaling to us? Should we count his blinks?
He's like he's like saying out loud like the stage hand type stuff. Like, oh, I need to go do this. I need to look that way or whatever.
Salute now, yeah.
Yeah.
Could you imagine Trump doing that?
Oh, Trump. I mean, I guess he uses a teleprompter. I'm sure he does for speeches, but he goes off the cuff.
He cusses.
Shouldn't
Cusses
he
at his rallies.
just speak? Shouldn't he just have some bullet points on a piece of paper? And if he's doing like a rally and just be able to talk, why not?
Mm-hmm.
I don't understand it. You shouldn't be in charge of anything. It's like Kamala Harris cannot speak.
Oh, did you see the space? Did you guys see where she was talking to the space astronauts? I mean, if I was Kamala, I would fire this. Whoever keeps handing her speeches does not have her best interest at heart. And
it's almost like they're purposefully making them even more of a mockery. It's like, this is getting worse and worse. Like I watched the Saudi Arabia, like they were mocking they were mocking Joe. Like other countries are mocking our president, and it's like,
well, yeah. I mean, I guess they mocked Trump all the time.
That's true.
Hey, let me ask you this: Has SNL brought back Maya Rudolph at all to play Kamala in any kind of form at all? Because I mean, it seems like Kamala is doing
great at it.
Doing Maya Rudolph doing herself. I mean, I don't understand it. It's so fun. It's so bad. You wouldn't even have to change the wording. She could just stand up on a cold open SNL and read one of her scripts. Exactly what Kamala said, and it would bring down the house.
I should
who needs SNL though when you have the current administration? Just watch them.
Yeah,
I mean, I'm sorry to say that's entertaining enough. You don't
have to change anything. Nothing. It's insane. Hey, one thing, it's kind of, and all this is insane. I don't even know how to put I know Tina saw the Saudi Arabia thing you were just talking about. We were just talking about that last night too. It was so bad. I want to go back to the vaccine requirements still for like college kids.
Right.
They're still doing this. And I read an article, I don't know if y'all shared it. I saw on Telegram from somebody that the National Debate Society for high schools, like the national one, like everybody is in debate clubs around the country and every high school around the country. Their goal is to be the best debate team, of course. Like remember the old High Q on Channel 2 and here in Atlanta back in the day? The quiz show. Yeah. You know, my high school, the kids, the smarter kids were trying to get on there, things like that. But the national, we're talking, it's sponsored by like the Ronald Reagan something, whatever. And it's the national one of all high schools. It's the goal of anybody on the debate team to be on there. Do you know you have to be vaccinated? These high schools have to be vaccinated to actually be in the debate. They won't let them do it. Isn't that crazy? And for no reason. There's absolutely no reason for any high school kid to have any vaccine. We already know it. It's so infinitesimal. It's just beyond stupid. And you're taking these kids out of this too. You've already 2 years ago they screwed everything over, and now it's just you're still doing it, and you're still requiring it for these kids to go to school and college. You're making all these kids do. They're still doing it too. Right now, they're still doing it, and they're allowed to get away with it because it's federal. They're all federally supported. All these schools are federally supported.
Same thing with the medications.
Do it.
Same thing with the medications. Their money comes from the grants into the education system. Those doctors and those medical programs like Johns Hopkins, they're all paid off.
And the lousy teacher union, same thing. They're all paid off. They're just the same.
We just got to keep. We have to keep showing up, having a voice, standing against it, and it's unfortunate, but these families are making those decisions for their teens.
Yep.
And some people, I wish them the best of luck. I hope we're wrong. I hope everything we see is wrong, and that
I'm getting more and more calls lately.
About the teens, about the kids, and
I got one yesterday. She took it to be involved in some sort of an event.
Yeah, that's what it is.
Program, and she wanted to participate, so she went and got it. She got sick. She's now been sick 3 times since she's gotten it. And she's like, what can I do? So that's a question now. What can these kids do? So now it's like I'm trying to help people find how to stop, because their immune systems. I mean, I'm not making anything up. This is all in studies.
What about HIV and AIDS on the rise now because of the vaccine?
The immune issues.
Well, that's what it is. It's called vaccine-acquired immune deficiency.
Yep.
That's what's happening. You've killed off. You do get a short-term boost from a booster for a small period of time, and then it crashes, and then it's called negative efficacy. You actually are more likely to get it after these 3 and 4. And just had this happen it's going to be coming down pretty soon. Walgreens, someone went in on the back end of Walgreens, and they're seeing that the people who are showing positive on the tests were those who had more boosters. It's like how, Walgreens recorded who tested positive for COVID and who didn't. And there's an article, you go look it up. It's in The Blaze, covered it. Daniel Horowitz, he talked about it. But I'm just going to read it to you right now. The highest percentage of people who, according to Walgreens, that were showing positives were those with 3 doses. So actually, yeah, and it's really quite concerning. So how long until they take that down? It's like the whole DMED, the Department of Defense. So they say there was an error.
Oh, it's all an error. There's always, the data was wrong. We're going to make you do all this stuff, but the data was wrong. Right. Sorry about that, guys. We didn't mean to do that.
Right.
You said something made me think of something else, but it'll come back to me in a second. But yeah, I just can't believe that people are still being forced to do that. These kids, especially kids, I was thinking back the coolest thing I did in my public school as a kid. I remember in 6th grade, I was 12, and can't 12-year-olds, they get the vaccines yet, or is it 12 and above or something like that?
Oh, they're going younger than that now.
Soon, yeah. Well, I remember going on I grew up in Georgia, so a big trip for us in the 6th grade was go to Washington, D.C. I don't know if you guys did that.
Oh, yeah, no.
I didn't get to
we always change schools once a year. So.
Oh, yeah. I remember going. Are they going to require? So all the way from there on up, are you requiring all the kids to get the vaccine just to go on any little school?
I'm sure. And what about the religious exempt forms? That's how I got my girls through school. Are they even honoring those exempt forms anymore? I heard the military.
Trying their best not to.
Well, I heard the military reinstated the exempt forms, but here's the catch. They can only do a religious exempt form if they had an adverse reaction within 7 days of the jab.
Oh my gosh.
And I'm not 100%, so I don't check that. But if that is the case, that they're saying, oh, well, we've allowed those to enter back into the military as long as, even if they have a religious exempt form. Well, the only way you can get one is if you have a reaction within 7 days of the jab, which am I taking?
You have to take it anyway.
I can't even. You guys, I wish I want to be wrong sometimes. I really do. I hate to. This is nothing I want to boast over. These are lives that are going to be adversely affected forever.
Yeah, and many of these leaders, the older, they're not going to be around to see these kids when they're in their adulthood. It kind of goes back to the whole transgender thing. We're going to see the effects of this transgender push on kids 25, 30 years from now. It's going to continue. Oh, yeah. It's just it's going to become a major social issue. It's going to be a major mental illness. It's just everything you can imagine, the baggage that goes with this is going to be crazy. It's just a social thing now. It became a social thing.
They want it all. They want to have sex with the kids. They're going after it. I saw in Austin, Texas, they were having a gay pride parade march around the school with the kids. And I thought, well, that's just, it just doesn't stop. This is our school systems. We are taxpayers and we are pouring money into these systems, and we have just got to keep showing up and standing against it. So I know we got to wrap things up for today. Yeah. Let's each close it out. Starting with Robin and Tim, what y'all got?
I don't have much. I just, who actually I've been really enjoying lately is on Telegram is Dr. Christina Parks. I really like what she has to say. Okay. She's been, I think she's about to start, doing co-authoring some studies. So I'm really excited for her, but she's very level-headed, and I like what she's very balanced in what she has to say. She's brought the light to African-Americans in some of the vaccines, and I think she's doing some good work. So that's kind of one of the places I've been looking at lately.
Send me, you may have seen, I don't know if I follow her on there. Send me, when you get a chance, send me a link to hers.
Sure. And I just, go ahead. And then that's pretty much it.
I think that, talking about she's been waking up a lot of African Americans. I mean, that's a big deal. I mean, because so many people in different communities are just, I mean, they're being brainwashed. Everybody that's a leader is all involved, saying you got to do this, you got to do this. I've been trying to.
In all honesty, it's true. Like African Americans, like your genetics make you more susceptible to certain things. Like they already saw in Brooklyn and New York, like there was higher levels of asthma in African Americans because they were more affected by the pollution. I mean, this stuff's been around for a long time. So I'm glad she's casting a light on this.
Well, I sure hope, because I mean, they need to expose what the CDC and FDA have done to a lot of different ethnicities in this country, including certainly African Americans in a major way. We know that. Under the guise of something that they're trying to help them, and they never were. So I actually reached out to a guy the other day he's a African American writer. He has a thing called Wrong Speak. It's a website. I'll share it with you.
Okay.
He does a lot of op-eds, and he's had a couple in some pretty big publications. The Federalist is where I saw him, and he was speaking about just fatherless homes. And there's been many kids that's grown up without a father that have had wonderful lives. But the study shows that, if kids grow up with a father, a mom, and a dad in the household, they have much greater chance of being successful in a lot of ways and just knowing how to, live as an adult. But he talked about, I think Tony Dungy, if you ever heard, he won a Super Bowl. He's a black coach, used to be Tampa Bay Buccaneers and the Colts. He is he used to be involved in the Fellowship of Christian Athletes. He's really strong about just trying to tell the truth. He always gets attacked by the progressives for being Uncle Tom, even though he's saying the truth. Well, he wrote an op-ed about him and just really backing up. It was like, hey, education, you want to get into schools, you want them to have whatever, but the education starts at home. And if you don't have a mom and a dad, typically, or two parents, the kid's already coming out at a disadvantage when they're going into the schools. And, he and I may not agree on everything, but I want to research and find out about, because people need to know. We need to share all different I want to have dialogues with people I don't agree with on everything, because I want to learn, because there's a lot I don't know. And if another thing to go along, I'm going to talk to him sometime on the podcast, but Hillsdale College, if you haven't looked on their site, Hillsdale College is online. They have so many free resources of these great teachers. I've been listening. It's funny when you guys said something about the Romans. I've been listening to a series of the beginning of the Roman Empire. It's like, I don't know how many, it's like 10 hours or something. I just take turns listening to different ones on the way to work and home. And there's so many parallels of how they rose and they fell to what we see right now. Just the technology is a little different.
Do you know what the last straw is of a civilization?
It's got something to do with children, doesn't it?
Yes. It's the sexualization of children.
There we go.
Come on, Disney. I mean, we're seeing it happen. And you know what? Here's the part our enemies, this evil did not bank on, that we are praying and crying out to the one true God. And we continue to repent. We continue to call evil, evil, and good, good.
Right.
And let's see what God will do. So anyway, guys, this has been a great talk. And I know we could just go all day, but I know we got to get back to what we're doing. And but thanks for coming on. We are the Angry Comics. Please, if you're listening to us on Apple Podcasts, take a few moments, leave a 5-star review. Nothing but that. Nothing less than a 5-star. If you can't leave a 5-star, just move on. But share, like, subscribe. We're on YouTube. We're on Rumble. Please spread the word and leave a comment below. Anything you'd like to add or contribute, please reach out. We are the AngryComicsPodcast at gmail.com. Thank you guys for coming on, and we'll see y'all next time.